Attention!
Raging Review.
The Raging Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Raging Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Raging Review podcast. Back for some Track the Pack. Got the boys together, talk about COVID Carolina coming in for 3. Some midweek stuff to discuss. We got some guys drafted in the NFL. A lot of UDFAs that we need to give some kudos to. Also, golf won a championship for the first time in quite a while. So we'll give them some shout. Unfortunately, tennis season on both the men's and the women's side ended, but a successful campaign for both all around if you consider everything. First and foremost, got to say hello to the boys for joining on the a nice Tuesday evening with no midweek games. Gentlemen, how are things?
My dog has ignored me ever since I got home. Now she brings me her funky monkey and wants to play. Never fails. As soon as we click this thing going, she wants to play. No, all is good, man. All is good in the hood.
Yeah, I've been on dad duty for the last hour, bathing, feeding, putting to sleep, feeding bottles, putting lotion on. So that plus dinner. Yeah, it's been crunch time at the Abear household in the last 45 minutes to an hour.
Sounds like you got a vacuum going back there. You got one of those robot ones that just go off by themselves?
No, I don't know what that is. That's weird.
Total chaos at the Aber household. I did see Jerry this weekend at Festival, so that was a treat. Wasn't too long, but we were out at Cathedral for the Mitch the Magician show, which was cool for the kids. I mean, wasn't very many magic tricks, but the show was good. A lot of comedy. You know,
I heard they had a lot of magic tricks going on that night before at Festival.
Wifey, FaceTime video.
Sorry, boys. That is one risk that you run when you have the phone connected to the door. You get a phone call from old wifey.
Festival was a blast this weekend. I'll be honest with you. We love us some Festival International, but I don't like when baseball interferes with it. I kind of like it when baseball's out of town and Festival's in town, so you don't have to pick and choose and try to rush from the stadium to downtown. You know, I kind of prefer us being out of town on that weekend.
Well, especially when you have the number 6 team in the country at the park, you know, and then playing at 10 o'clock was weird, but I think I would have enjoyed going to the park early in the morning. And I know that the crowd wasn't a Friday night crowd, wasn't a Saturday night crowd, but something different, you know, it was something cool to do. I know some people were in church, some people were at the festival, but something different at the Tigue, you know?
Some people had the nerve to talk attendance back.
Oh, man. Don't get me started. So we'll start the show off with, like I said, golf won a championship. So they won their 4th conference title. This is the first time that they won it in the match play format. First time they actually qualified for the round of the match play format. First conference title since 2007. First regional appearance is 2012, where they qualified as an at-large. And, you know, that's pretty significant. I didn't see a whole lot of coverage of the golf team. Raging Review got involved and wanted to push the team because I had a conversation with Coach Theo in the fall, and he told me that this was going to be the most talented group that he has had since he's been here. He's been here 15 years. I think his first year they did qualify, or they were very close at least, to get into the regionals. Look, Milan Potgeider just got named All Sun Belt as a freshman. He was the number 14th overall performer with regard to score to par. He was number 14, and he was right at par for the season, which is a pretty substantial accomplishment overall, because this league has a lot of good golfers. Look at Georgia Southern. Ben Carr participated in the Masters this past year. He actually played really well in the match play. Georgia Southern was the number 26 team in the country, and they're going to qualify as an at-large, and the Cajuns beat them. They came down. They were down. I want to say we were down 2 matches. We were tied in 2 matches, and we were up 1, making the turn in that final match play round. So we came back in the championship round to win the conference tournament, but we came back in an even more fantastic fashion in the semifinal, where you got Jake Marler coming out of the 5-hole. He goes 20 holes, 2 sudden death playoff holes to beat Will Tripp in a pretty exciting match. I watched from about the 11th hole on. Jake was down 3 holes at the turn, which you guys know, anybody that follows any amount of golf knows, down 3 holes at the turn is a pretty daunting task. He did it. He played big-time golf down the stretch. He made some great up and downs, hit some huge putts. I mean, that guy was very, very impressive to watch. I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen a lot of Marler since he's been here at UL, but it was really interesting and fun to follow some high-stakes golf in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. And obviously, getting the win in the final was really good, but that semifinal was really where it was at. I mean, big-time clutch putts, big-time approaches when he had to have them. I don't know. I think Jake Marler is probably your unsung hero of it all. Did you guys get to follow any of it?
Yeah, I think I had a good feeling. And look, you said a lot of words there that I had no idea what you're talking about, turns and all that stuff. But it was, look, again, I'll say it again. JD did a great job in the commentary, helping somebody like me understand what was going on. But it was, you kind of had the feeling after they did what they did against South Alabama that it did nothing but help us in going into that championship match. You just felt like you had all the momentum after that, right? So it was close. And South Alabama, by the way, is like a staple in golf, in men's golf in the Sun Belt. So that was also impressive. It's not like they were just taking on another team. They were taking on South Alabama, who's pretty damn good year over year. So yeah, I was impressed. And you gotta feel good for Theo, man. He's been working so hard. You could tell he was emotional. He kept the guys loose. He talked about that a lot, how he kept them loose through the whole tournament, and he really thinks that benefited them. And hopefully they take that same mindset into regional play, which, by the way, there is a selection show tomorrow at noon on the Golf Channel, also on NCAA.com. So that should be fun to watch.
Yeah, and we'll keep you guys abreast. We'll send out alerts and everything. Jared, I'll let you go real quick. I did think it was interesting that he decided to follow Milan around because his parents were the only ones that weren't able to come because they're South African. It would have been quite the trip. But everybody else had their support systems there. I thought that was an interesting comment. And just, Theo's one of us. He's one of us. He's been here forever. He played here. You just got to feel good for a guy like Theo to get this kind of a win. He was very emotional in the post-game presser with Sunbelt.
Well, I'm just so proud of the fact that it's their first championship in 15 years. I was very pleased to see how well they competed in this tournament. When you go up against Georgia Southern, who was the clear favorite, and you're able to go toe to toe, sudden death with them, literally you play them in the final almost, and able to get those key shots in. That it just speaks volumes on the team that we had this year, and really just the fact that it seemed like as the season went on, this team got better, and they really hit stride in this tournament. The way they competed day in and day out. This is probably the first time I'll admit that I really followed this team as far as like their, how well they competed in the conference tournament. Because I mean, last year they finished like what, 9th or something like that, and then this year
11th.
to 11th. Yeah, 11th. So to go from 11th and then win it in 1 year, you look at the facility that the program has, at Oakbourne. You look at the way the players that Theo has recruited over the last few years. It seems like it's a culmination of a few things that has allowed for this opportunity to happen. So, like you guys said, I couldn't be any happier for Theo, man. He bleeds vermilion and white. He's been with this program for a very long time. This means the world to him. You can tell he was getting emotional after winning the championship, and just happy for these players and the way they competed against some really good competition in Georgia Southern. So congratulations to the golf team. Looking forward to seeing what they can do in NCAA regionals, and it should be a lot of fun. And I'm excited. I'm fired up for this team.
And look, I cannot go without saying the coach's wife has probably the toughest job of anybody. I mean, being a coach's wife is not easy. They're away from home a lot. I know they have kids. Sometimes engagements take them away, and the wife really has to take control of things back at home while he's doing his thing. But Mary is actually a diehard Cajuns fan as well. She worked with me in the baseball office for several years while we were both students. So happy for her as well. I know she was really excited about it as well.
Yeah, it's a good point about the coaches' wives' lives. I mean, they sacrifice a lot and put up with a lot, and dad's gone a lot, and that's a big deal for all wives. I mean, not just coaches' wives, but so they make a pretty significant sacrifice for that to happen. We got to say this, for a guy like Charlie Flynn to clinch the title with a big birdie putt on 18, the match came all the way down to his putt. I just thought it was so fitting. He's been here for, it feels like, ever. I think he's a fifth-year senior. Charlie Flynn has been a staple of this program for a very long time. These guys had a rough fall. They weren't healthy. They come into the spring, and they still kind of struggled to get out of the gates. And while they did place a little bit higher in some of the tournaments you expected them to play well in, overall, I think they were disappointed with how the season as a whole progressed. And to just see them rise to the occasion in the tournament, it was just great. And I got to tell you, so Georgia Southern has dominated this conference in golf for a long time. 3 of their top 5 players, and all 3 of those players were in their 5 for the matchup. 3 of the 5 were in the top 5 of scoring averages relative to par. They had the number 1, the number 2, and the number 5 player average score to par in the conference. Our closest guy was 14, and that was Milan. And then next in line was 28, and that was Eli Ortego, another young guy. I think he's a sophomore this year. And then after that, I think Charlie Flynn was in the 60s. So that just goes to show you those were our 3 top performers, and Georgia Southern had 3 of the top 5 of the entire conference. So I just thought that was something worth noting, and I thought they played well. It was an interesting comment. I thought that maybe it's a lot of, look, Jake Marler played, 38 holes on Friday. So you could have thought, well, look, he's going to get tired. Maybe the team's tired. It's a lot of golf. Georgia Southern was in the clubhouse watching the matches. They come out, they look stiff for a while, first 4 or 5 holes. Georgia Southern gets it rolling. You think, oh, gosh, look, it's going their way. Cajuns start to fall behind, and then they roar back. Cajuns roar back. And Charlie Flynn said on the interview with Dave, he said, it felt like we had played so much golf. We were just in a groove. We didn't feel like we were trying to get it back. We had a good feel, and it helped them to finish strong. So that was an interesting portion, interesting comment by Charlie Flynn. And I also wanted to say thanks to Dave for giving the golf team the coverage that they deserved, because wasn't a whole lot of media talking about Cajuns Golf before that happened. So great to see it. I thought that the classics were great. We all went. Well, I went out there, and I kind of shared with y'all the experience. The classics are getting better. The tournament is really fun. They're trying to make it more customer friendly or patron friendly. I hope going forward we get a little bit more interest and excitement in Cajuns Golf, and this is a nice little jump off spot. So go Cajuns. We'll see where we end up, and then once we find out where they are in the regionals, we'll be sure to follow that, and we'll keep you guys all updated on all those things. Next thing, softball continues to absolutely dominate. They go over to Conway and sweep the COVID Carolina Beach Chickens at home. A little bit nip and tuck on there. I think it was in game 1, they won 2-1. I think Saturday they blew them away, something like 11-0 or something, and then on Sunday it was similar. The girls really didn't mess around with Coastal this weekend. They went over there and they took care of business. 80 consecutive Sun Belt Conference Series wins. Train keeps rolling. Lauren Allred still hitting bombs. Laney still hitting bombs. We're pitching the lights out of it. Sam was very good. Special K was very good. Maya was great. I mean, what can you say? The same names continue to produce. The pitchers seem like they're getting better and better and better. Down the stretch, I just hope we stay healthy, because we look like we're firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, and I think Kendra, I mean, it's way early to be talking about it, but she is somebody we are going to miss next year. I mean, all she did on Saturday was come in the second inning and pitch a no-hitter for 6 innings. So she's going to be definitely a big hole to fill. And looking at JMV, he posted something regarding regional Sunbelt predictions from someone who's apparently very in the know and I think predicted like all 64 teams last season in the regionals. Louisiana still likely at this point, if the season ended today, in his opinion, to get a host regional, probably like a number 16 host seed. But I think, they like to give those regional bids out to SEC teams, regardless of what their record looks like in comparison to ours or RPI. Somehow, SEC seems to trump everything. So you feel like they got to win out really the rest of the season to even have a shot at hosting, which is sad, but true at this point.
Yeah, I think what's frustrating about that is you're right. I mean, the obvious favoritism to the SEC, especially in softball. I mean, there are teams that get in as at-large bids with barely over 500, and it's frustrating because if you look at the Cajuns' schedule, especially in non-conference, I mean, let's be honest, it's one of the toughest in America. I mean, we have a top 10 strength of schedule, and that includes playing in the Sun Belt. So I mean, I understand we should have won some of those games to start the season, but at the same time, I don't think any team in America can question who was more challenged going into conference play other than Louisiana. I mean,
But it's going to be the same story as it is every year. Well, yeah, their RPI isn't as great, or they don't have, but they play in the SEC. That's always the caveat. But they play in the SEC. Trumps everything else.
It's easy. But again, if you're playing in the SEC and your schedule and your record is 27-23, and you're getting in as an at large, do you think that's really fair? I mean, that's the problem. I don't care if you play in the SEC. I don't care if you're playing.
It's not fair.
In
You're
the Big
taking
12
opportunities from other teams that have a chance to do really well in the tournament, and you're going to let somebody in with, like you said, a 26-23 record go in and go 0 for 2.
And the last time I checked, we've beaten 3 SEC teams this year so far. So I don't know if that would really cause any stir up, or if that should work against us if we're looking to be that 15 or 16 seed host. I mean, if you look at our schedule and a non-conference schedule, we have 3 SEC wins. So just right now, you've got ULM this weekend. Beat ULM. You got you're 1 win away from a regular season championship, which for a while Marshall was on a roll, and then they kind of slipped up a little bit, which kind of gave us the free pass to go in and take care of business this weekend at home. So all we got to do is take care of business, keep that streak going, which, by the way, is at 80 now. Congratulations to the ladies. 80 straight conference series wins dating back to 2013. What an accomplishment. And so
I'm going to go back to your Marshall comment, though. The reason that they started losing games is because they actually started playing somebody. And that was funny to me because they were fluffing their feathers, the whole season, look at our record, but they played nobody. And now that they're playing good teams, they're dropping games.
Well, if you look at their RPI, I want to say it was somewhere in the 60s, maybe, when they started the season, like 25-3 or something like that. And their fans could not understand why they weren't ranked. And I'm like, well, look, what is your RPI? I mean, if you're 25-3 and you have an RPI lower than 50, you obviously aren't playing anyone. Not taking away from their success. Look, I love the fact that you have teams in the conference that are winning. It makes our conference better. And in situations that we're facing now to try to host, those teams in our conference that continue to win help us out if we play them and beat them. So you want them to succeed. But at the same time, when you see our team ranked in the top 25 and some of their fans are going, why is Louisiana in the top 25 and we're not? It's like, okay, slow your roll. Yes, you have a better record than us right now, but you got a little ways to go before trying to trump where we are as a softball program. You're not quite there yet. No disrespect, but look, everything turned out okay. All we got to do is take one game this weekend. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I want to sweep, but one more win, you're conference champions. And, hopefully you take care of business this weekend and you go into the conference tournament with some momentum, which, by the way, is being played at Lamson Park this year. So things are looking up for softball. Keep it up. Pitching looks great. We're hitting the ball well against some good pitchers. And I like the way we've responded over the last few weeks. It's a great time to start clicking, and they definitely have done that, especially this weekend at Coastal. Job well done, ladies.
By the way, those tickets are on sale now. You can start buying the Sun Belt Conference booklets for the games. They're on sale. I don't know how long they've been on sale, but I saw today that they've been on sale. And to your point about Marshall, I think up like 3 weeks ago, their strength of schedule was 252.
There you go.
Don't beat your chest about an RPI. Look, the Cajuns have a top 5 strength of schedule, and they have a top 10 RPI. Those things are, they're married to each other. So,
well, Josh, God bless Marshall fans. I mean, they're passionate as hell, but they also came into the football season thinking they'd kick our ass because one guy, showboated or hit their guy earlier. I don't even remember what it is. Yeah, he hit the guy fielding a punt, and they thought they'd just destroy us because of that.
Yeah, I know. I just think there's 7 right now. Squarely in the top RPI 100, as according to D1 softball, 7 Sun Belt Conference teams. I can't remember the last time we had more than 3. So the league is looking up. It definitely helps us in our bid to host. I think that if we keep that 10-ish RPI spot and we win out and we win a conference championship and there are no more blemishes, it's going to be hard to keep out a top. I don't know where exactly the conference sits overall, but you have to think it's going to be in the top 7 or 8, right? With this many teams in the top 100, it'll be hard to keep out a host site from sweeping the conference tournament and totally dominating the conference with a decent RPI.
They'll send us to Baton Rouge. I mean, they'll send us they'll find a way to send us to Baton Rouge.
I got no problem going to Baton Rouge. I don't think that they're all that good. I don't know where the SEC ranks in RPI. Now, the thing about it is it's already stacked. The deck's already stacked. They rank SEC teams high up. It helps them. It's a vicious cycle. It helps their RPI, helps their own conference schedule. It helps them, it'd be like if they just started giving SBC teams, okay, COVID, you're number 5 in the country. Louisiana, you're number 2. Texas State, you're number 12. The RPI is always going to help itself. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So
going back to your comments about softball and top 100 RPI, et cetera, and how it's getting better as a league. Switching gears for a little bit, as a league, you just see us getting healthier in all sports, especially all the big sports, because you got to think mainstays in baseball like South Alabama, Coastal, us, force other programs to put money into their program if they want to keep up. Not be just keep up, right? You have UL, Texas State, South Alabama to a degree, Troy sometimes. Again, Louisiana has been the leader there. Other programs have to put money into it and start doing better to even keep up. Not even win the league, but just to keep up. So you're starting to see that in basketball. I know it was Georgia State for a little bit, getting a little bit of attention, and they helped us get better, and our basketball as a league is better. So it's just good to see that spreading across all sports. And not just saying, hey, we're great, we love our football. Now it's starting to really catch on everywhere else. I love seeing that.
Well, it adds value to your conference. I mean, when you look at the conference shakeups and you look at the 4 teams that were added the last few years, they weren't, yes, football drives the bus, but it helps when basketball's good. It helps when baseball's good. It helps when softball's good. It helps when all these other sports have value to them. I mean, when we did our podcast with our friends from Southern Miss, what did they talk about besides football? Baseball. They were talking about, you guys have a great baseball conference. The Sun Belt is really well known in baseball. And, as Southern Miss fans that are known to have a good baseball history, just like us, they pride themselves in that. And they know that it adds value to their program. So as long as these teams continue to be successful outside of just football, it adds value to the conference as a whole. Like right now, one of the big projects I think Commissioner Gill is working on is trying to make sure that the basketball gets better. And it's not just a one bid league. I mean, he set a new rule recently that you have to have a minimum of so many Division I home games, because he wants to make the conference better as a whole. That allows the net rankings to go up for each team. And that's a good thing, that you want that, because it adds value to the actual Sun Belt Conference. And if we're trying to add or trying to be in a race to be the best mid-major conference out there, I think we're on the right track so far. There's still a little bit more shakeup to go. But I think in the last year or so, you've definitely seen improvements across the board. I mean, you look at baseball and softball, JMU coming in. I mean, it's fantastic. It's been great.
Agree. The girls will travel to Rustonia to play the Nexters tomorrow, Wednesday. Just want to hit mute there for a second.
Yeah, that sounded really.
Sorry, guys. I thought I hit mute. My bad.
Nope, didn't do it.
It was delicious.
It's actually right on point, because that's kind of what Ruston sounds like, slurping. We'll do it again, and we'll go to Ruston to take on the Nexters, and then we will welcome ULM to the friendly confines of Lamson Park. We got some football news to talk about. Our friend Andre Jones, 7th round selection, number 223 overall to the Commanders, who we're just going to start calling the Louisiana Commanders, because they seem to love some Raging Cajuns, man, over there.
Drafting our guys, man.
Yeah, so shout out to Mr. Jones for being yet another Louisiana draft pick. I think that's 5 years in a row. 5 or 6 years in a row we've had a guy drafted. I think he's going to do well over there. I think I like Ron Rivera as a coach. I think he's a great developmental coach. I think he puts an emphasis on developing. So I think that's a good place, a good landing spot, and a good defense for him to learn from. And especially, having some familiar faces over there with Percy and those guys, I think that's going to be a great spot for Andre Jones. I hope him nothing but the best. I think he's got an NFL body, and I think he's got a real future. He's going to have to work hard, because they have some talent on that roster on the defensive side. But I think that he's got a great opportunity to succeed. You guys agree?
Absolutely. He's got the right attitude. I mean, he was kind of that defensive leader the last few years for the Cajuns defense. And it's good to see he's going to be headed to Washington to play along our good friend Percy Butler, like you said. I mean, we have a Cajun legend in Brian Mitchell that made a name for himself in Washington. So definitely a lot of Louisiana connections, like you said. It's great to see that. And Andre's going to do some great things. We wish him the best. And congratulations, buddy. You're going to the league.
Yeah, and I mean, just as long as these guys have a chance, this is what they have been preparing literally their whole career for, is just to get a chance to be in the big show. So excited for him and all of the other players, and also for I'm not big on players who transfer, but really excited for Osiris Torrance, who showed some love during his combine with his shoes, one Louisiana, one Florida. So I hope he does well in the big show too.
He was not shy about giving Cajun love in his media tour. So I respect guys that remember where they came from. Saibo remembered that he was developed here, and we were one of the few that gave him the opportunity to be what he wanted to be. So shout out to Osiris Torrance. I think he's going to kill it. And I wish he would have gone I was really hoping that he'd go in the first round, because that would have been sick, but he ended up going to Buffalo, another small market team that I root for. It's Catherine's favorite team, so I watch them almost every Sunday. So I'll be able to see a whole lot of Saibo. Coach Lou, we got Coach Lou requesting to speak. Coach Lou, the floor is yours, man. Make your comments.
Hey, how you guys doing? Can you guys hear me?
Can hear you perfectly.
Okay. Been having some issues with the phone. I just wanted to get on and say, I've been following you guys' page for a while. I'm definitely proud of what you guys do. There's not a lot of outlets that support the Cajuns the way you guys do. So I just wanted to get on here and say that.
Certainly appreciate that, man. There was a void for a while. We tried to fill it. I think we did an okay job, but I think my favorite thing is when we have people like you that want to talk and just discuss the Cajuns or air grievances or whatever. This is an outlet to do it. So appreciate you saying that.
Right, definitely, man. I'm just really excited, for the upcoming football season. I was able to come here a few months ago, continue my coaching journey. And I think the fan base is going to be pretty excited with the product that gets put out pretty soon, for sure.
I agree. Coach Lou, tell the people what is your position on the staff?
I assist with the receivers under Coach Tim Leger right now.
All right.
Shout out to Coach Tim Leger, for taking me. And me myself, I grew up in General, Louisiana. My grandmother used to take me to the Raging Cajun games a long time ago. So we used to go out there. I remember watching Blaine Gauthier, Ladarius Green, and some of those guys. So it's really cool for me doing this full circle thing in my coaching career. Which is pretty short. It's only been 3 years since I got into coaching, but being able to come here to a place that fought with some adversity, with the transfer portal and the changing of the guard as far as the coaching staff went, I believe that the team still did they did pretty well, and being able to go through that type of adversity and come out the end of that tunnel. I'm not gonna say unscathed, but still standing, that means a lot to me, for sure. And I think that's going to bode well going into the future.
So Coach Lou, I got to give a shout out to J-Town, man. I got family from there. My dad's from Jeanerette, so shout out to Jeanerette real quick. I want to ask you, Josh and I had the chance to go to the spring game this year, and look,
right.
Everybody was flying around the field. It was a beautiful sight. And now we know that, Zion took all the reps, but with Zion's skills, he was able to air it out a little bit. Talk a little bit about your receiving core and what you saw this spring. I know we had a bunch of guys that left. A few guys went to the portal. A few guys graduated. So I know there's going to be a few unfamiliar faces on the receiving side of the ball, but we know they're very talented. Talk a little bit about their development. Their development this spring, and what do you look forward to in seeing them do in the fall, and what can Cajun Nation expect from this receiving core this coming year?
Yes, sir, no doubt. Yeah, there are definitely some new faces, some new names. There's been a few injuries, unfortunately, early on during practice. I can't really say specifically a name or two that'll really stand out. I believe you guys are gonna, be not. I'm not gonna say surprised by Neil. I think Neil Johnson is definitely going to be a focal point, and he's going to have a big season for sure. Outside of Neil, um, I think it's just going to remain. It remains to be seen. But there are definitely going to be some guys that are going to come to the forefront. One of the guys I believe is going to be Lance. I definitely believe Lance is gonna be able to step up and do some pretty spectacular things this upcoming season.
Well, he certainly ended the season on a strong note, and a lot of us were trying to see, what's going on here. Why don't we get more reps to Lance? Because he was a difference maker when he stepped on the field. Size, speed, athleticism, knowledge of the game. I think that with another year of him focusing only on the receiving portion of the game, I think that this guy's potential is unlimited.
I think that did have to do with the position change. I've only been there for a few months, but that is a pretty big change to go through. Talking about switching over from quarterback to receiver, but he's an athlete. He's an athlete. He's definitely the guy that runs the hardest out there at the beginning of practice, the end of practice, the middle of practice. It doesn't really matter what it is. So that should definitely translate to on the field for sure.
Yeah, I think one thing I appreciate about Lance is his humility, because anytime he's a star quarterback. I remember watching him at Warren Easton in New Orleans, and he was recruited by, you can name the school, and he probably got a letter from them as a quarterback.
Right.
And then for him to go to Maryland, get some play time there, in the Big Ten, and then transfer here and have to wait his turn, and not only wait his turn, but switch positions to a position he's not too familiar with and do it without any complaining, doing it with all the putting in hard work and doing it with humility speaks volumes. And I'm sure that has created sort of a leadership role by him, because I'm sure he expects the same type of intensity for his teammates as he has shown so far as a wide receiver rather than a quarterback now.
Right, and that waiting your turn thing is really big. Obviously with the transfer portal, and there's a lot of guys that you can attribute that to, but being able to wait your turn, and I think that attributes to just being the vision being laid out for an athlete, and then being able to buy into that vision and seeing that end product, and just really just going through the grind to get to that end result, that end goal.
Nick, anything for Coach Lee before we let him go?
No, he had music to my ears when he said Neil Johnson.
I've only been hollering about that for 5 years.
I know, and we did it last year with success. So excited to hear. No, appreciate you giving your thoughts, man. We love hearing from you guys. I definitely
have to speak about Jacob Bernard too. Definitely.
Yes.
Junkyard
Bernard is just, oh man, it's just crazy. I kind of get excited when we get into one-on-one because I already know what he's about to do. Definitely know what he's about to do. It's so crazy, man. If he were, I'd say 3 to 4 inches taller, I would say look out. But regardless of his stature, he's an amazing player. He's definitely going to open up some eyes for sure this season as well.
You think Jacob's going to be in the X or the Z, or where can we expect to see him most?
I'm pretty sure he's mostly going to be in the slot.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a couple of guys. There's a couple of guys that maybe I might be biased because I work with them, but Jacob and Peter LeBlanc definitely, they're gonna have a lot of opportunities. I'll say they're definitely gonna have a lot of opportunities, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna be able to capitalize on those.
One name that, Coach, I wanted to throw out there. He's a local guy from St. Martinville. Everybody knows who he is around here. Harvey Broussard. I know I don't think he's enrolled yet, but looking at his film and looking at the talent he has, would you say he would be somebody that would have a chance to play? Or I'm sure you would probably have to see in the fall whether or not he'd be redshirted, but I'm sure you, as well as the rest of the coaching staff, must be pretty fired up to see him come in and see what he can do as well and contribute to the Cajun offense as well.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I currently live in St. Martinville, so he's definitely the talk of the town. The St. Martinville legend for sure. And kudos to Coach Leje for being able to reel him in and get him here, because obviously he had a plethora of offers elsewhere at the bigger schools as well.
Sure.
And he bought in and he's here. I can't say because I haven't seen him practice yet. He's not here yet. But I will say, just judging from what I've seen, I've never really seen a bunch of freshmen playing right away. And not to take away from him, I'm just saying in general, I've never seen a whole bunch of them, play a lot right away. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work. I know we can expect for him to contribute in some way, shape, or form. I'm just not sure how much. I'm just not sure how much that's going to be right away.
That's fair. That's fair.
Will Harvey be enrolled for the fall?
Oh yeah, yes, he'll definitely be enrolled.
Okay, that's what I thought. Well, Coach Lou,
And there's some other younger guys also in the receiving core that later down the line I think they're going to make a big impact. AJ J-Row from Texas is one, kind of along the same lines as Harvey build wise. I think he's an early enrollee. I think he's going to be able to contribute next season for sure.
AJ just needs some plate lunches. Y'all need to stuff his face full of plate lunches.
Get some Buddha, man.
I think after a couple of months, he's gonna definitely have some weight.
Now, look, in order to,
but I love AJ, man. I love AJ. He's definitely a hard worker, and he's extremely talented as well.
well, I tell you, man, I'm excited to see the offense this year. I know we have a lot of potential. We've got a lot of young talent, and it's good to see our offensive line is healthy again. And make the sign of the cross here that they stay that way, because I know last year we were off to a little bit of a slow start because they are sort of they are the front line. I mean, they're kind of that locomotive that makes the train go. So hopefully they're healthy. I saw we have depth in the offensive line, which I'm sure in the skill positions it makes you guys ecstatic because it helps you kind of free your game plan a little bit. But no, I'm
definitely a lot of depth there. I will say this before I get off. I know I work with the receivers, but I think the position group I'm most excited about are the running backs. Without a doubt. On the offensive side of the ball.
Been hearing that a lot.
There's a
People excited about running backs and Zion.
Yes. It's just really deep. It's really deep as far as that talent goes. So that's going to be pretty exciting to see. Definitely.
Is this the healthiest Cabote's been since he's been here?
I'm not sure, but he goes into that depth as well. Cabote, Zylan, Terrence, like it's going to be pretty exciting. I can say that for sure. You really can't go wrong with any of them. Draylon as well. Draylon Washington. So
true.
Can't forget about him.
Yeah, you can't forget about him.
Look, hey, I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to expect to score some points next year. We've got a lot of good skilled players from what we saw in the spring game. We've got some depth, and I'm sure we got some new talent coming in as well that's going to contribute that isn't even that aren't even
There's even
yet.
more. There are some freshman guys coming in, Big Bill Davis as well. So, but if I had to place a bet, I hope nobody else pins this down for me saying this. The most talented group, definitely the running back group. Like the running is just, I can't even really put it into words. And they're a selfless group too. That's the biggest takeaway for me. They're a real selfless group. Those guys there.
Well, we're no stranger to having a good and deep running back room here, so we've been blessed over the last 10, 12
spoiled.
years.
We've been kind of spoiled with our running backs. I mean, most of them go pro or at least get a tryout with an NFL team. So we've been kind of, this last year.
Definitely have some more of those for sure. In my opinion, I think we'll definitely have a couple coming up.
Nice.
Well, Coach Lou, tell the boys that we're excited for the season, chomping at the bit. Can't wait to get after it. Remind Mike that the tight end is always open. And Neil Johnson needs 80 catches, 150 targets.
Man, hopefully we can pack the stadium. That's one thing I would like to see more of. Just going back to my time with my grandmother, back in the Blaine Gauthier days, just seeing more people come out to support. Man, I'm not sure what it is. I don't know what the disconnect is. But I remember when the school was ranked, and I was like, it wasn't up to the capacity that I thought, that it should be. So not sure what's up with that.
Trust me when I tell you we're working on it. We're doing everything we can possibly do. We're just a couple of dopes on a podcast, but we try hard.
Right. And I appreciate that, man. These guys definitely deserve the support of all of Lafayette, surrounding areas as well, too, man. Looking at the other Sun Belt, and I don't like really looking at those guys, but just looking at, the other Sun Belt schools and their attendance and their support is just, I don't know, it's different for us. And it's been like that. It's been like, you guys know, it's been like that for a while. So I'm not sure what the issue is.
I think once Mike gets this thing on the road and he starts getting some momentum, it's going to be HUD-like, because at the end of the day,
Right.
Cajuns love their own, and Mike is certainly one of our own. So once he gets it rolling, last year it is what it is. People don't even know what he dealt with. I mean, there was so many things, but this year is different. This is, he said multiple times to me, to other people, this is a different situation. He's got foundation laid. He's got, familiarity. He kept the coaching staff intact for the most part. He's got players that he knows he can rely on. He's got leadership that he knows is going to hold the rope. We're going to be fine. I know we're going to be fine. So I appreciate your time very much, man. I hope on nothing but the best. Everybody stay healthy. Tight end.
Go Cajuns. Thank you.
All right, Coach Lucia.
Thanks, Coach.
That was a nice treat.
That was a cool surprise.
And staying on football for a second.
Yeah.
We had some UDFAs. Chris Smith goes to the Seattle Seahawks. John Stevens Jr. goes to Dallas. Gross, but glad to see a Cajun get a professional opportunity. Hopefully he, gets really good and gets traded to the Saints, because we need, actually our wide receiver room is getting pretty good.
Or literally anyone except for Atlanta.
Yeah, literally anyone. Lumpkin, our boy Johnny Lumpkin, tight friends you, signs with the Pats.
Gonna play with old Belichick.
Yeah, I don't know who's he going to be catching passes from. Is it the Zappy guy, or is it going to be
Jones?
Mac?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll figure that out.
And then Belichick's gonna be like, "Good job, Johnny. Great
we're on
catch,
to
Johnny."
Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati.
Or gone to Cincinnati.
Eric Garrett signs with the Titans, and I think that he is going to surprise a whole lot of people. I just can't wait to see him get his opportunity. That guy deserves every ounce of I don't know. He is pound for pound one of my favorite players that ever came here. Reese Burns, our boy, 14th overall selection to the Montreal Alouettes. 14th overall for a punter. That's pretty awesome. I don't know. Maybe we have to look at the Canadian record books. Is that the highest a specialist has ever gone? Because that would be a pretty nice write-up that we could do on Reese. And then those are our UDFAs and CFL guys. Football it's not that far away, but it feels like forever away. And I'm just happy to see all of our guys get the opportunities they deserve. Even though they're undrafted free agents. What is it, like 20% of the league is undrafted free agents?
Of course, yeah.
40% of the Super Bowl was undrafted free agents. I mean, those are the guys that work hard. They do the dirty work. They do special teams. They show themselves to be grinders. I really root for UDFAs, especially, of course, if they're Cajuns.
Wasn't J.J. Watt an undrafted free agent?
Can't be.
Yeah, I think J.J. Watt was one.
He's a mutant.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Nick, we got to look that up. There's no way, right?
I don't know. Make Jerry look it up. He's the one who made that baseless claim.
Yeah, Jerry, you're gonna have to look that up. You got to back me up here. There's just no way that dude wasn't drafted.
Do you know how to Google, Jerry? Do you need me to show you how to do it?
Well, why'd you do that?
Okay, yeah, I totally botched that. He was the first round. 11th pick.
I was about to say, the guy is like, he was like 6'9", ran a 4.28.
Oh, Jerry.
Could bench press a house. No way.
There was somebody who played defensive line that was an undrafted free agent that lit it up. I forgot who it was.
If you'd have said like DeMarcus Ware from Troy or something, that would have been something.
No, DeMarcus Ware was not. I'm going to look this up now because I of course I botched it. So I have to.
Andy said JJ Watt was a first rounder. Yeah, man. We need
another guy with a J in his name.
We need to get a we need a research department here because we can't just say stuff like that. So anyway,
sorry, guys.
On the same note, we're talking football here, so we'll just stay a little bit longer. We had some big news on the last day of undergraduate transfer window. Trey Amos, who most people consider our best cornerback, decided that he's gonna test the waters and put his name into the transfer portal. I'd like to get you guys' thoughts on that. I'll go first, just set the table. You guys know I've liked Trey Amos since he signed here. I love his size, but I liked his makeup. I liked the way he played the position. I also pay way more attention to the defensive side than I do the offensive side. He had all the measurables. He did everything that I thought that an NFL cornerback would do. The hips were there, the reaction there, the instincts, everything. I don't know, long arms, everything that you would want in a cornerback. I thought he struggled with some physicality maybe early on. Maybe he just wasn't quite as big. But when he went up against Dell in the Independence Bowl at the end of the season, he showed me something even more than I already liked in him. And Mike said he had one of the best springs on the team. I was excited about that. I thought this might be his breakout year. And then we find out on the very last day, James Harrison. We find out on the very last day to put his name in that, he's going to be transferring. And we've all heard rumors, and we know that there's been some coaches sniffing around in the Lafayette area. So who knows what happened, but we have a pretty decent idea of what happened. I hate to lose Trey. That's a punch in the dick for me. He's been one of my favorite players. I love cornerbacks. Now, I will say that I understand the business. I will never, ever, especially after these coaches have gone around the country and made millions of dollars and exploited their time at certain universities to enrich themselves. I'm never, ever going to blame a kid for going and trying to make money for himself or his family or whatever. I'm not going to even go near that. But I can say, as a fan of a small university, and I'm sure other fans are feeling the same way across the country, when you have a player that you really start to be attached to and somebody you follow and then they just leave, it starts to erode at your fandom to a certain degree. It makes you ask the question, why do I even follow this stuff? I can't even get to know these guys anymore, which was kind of like the bedrock of rooting for teams for the longest. I mean, as long as I've been involved in collegiate athletics or watching. So I'll tell you, from a fan point of view, it really sucks. I'm devastated a little bit. I mean, that's kind of like overhyping it, but I hate to see him go. Happy to see him go and make the best of his opportunity. Hope to see him in the NFL one day. But that's my thoughts on it, and you guys can take it from there.
So I used to be of the same opinion, Josh. And then you lose 8 or 9 guys, and then that starts wearing on you a little bit. And look, I'm with you. I'm not in a position where somebody's offering me hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever it is to go somewhere. And as a 20-year-old, I mean, hell, at our age, we take it and run, right? So I don't know what that's like. I don't know. I understand the thought process, but after a while, I'm just almost numb when these kids get on social media and say, thank you to all the fans and thank you to the coaches. You're building something special, but I'm out. I mean, don't say it. Be honest. Say, hey, I got offered more money and I'm gone. I mean, at least be honest about it, right? Because you hear rumblings of things, and then you hear a coach from the state of Ron DeSantis is talking to him, and then all of a sudden, on the last possible minute and the last day, the guy's gone, right? And then you have 37 offers popping up on Twitter, including the school across the basin, right? Out of nowhere, just magically within the 30 minutes from him posting it, he's got 37 offers. Pretty impressive. I don't know how you do it. So again, I don't fault the kid, but the thing of me saying, I wish you the best and best of luck, I'm kind of over it at this point. And that's just the fan in me. As it keeps happening, because get used to it. It's going to continue happening. And my fear is, same as Terry Johnson, who said it, that we're going to just turn into a test, like a JUCO, a test league for the big boys. And when they say, system. This guy's good. Well, give him 100,000, offer him to come over here. There's no regulation, by the way, because it's clear. I mean, even SEC guys are saying there's tampering going on. Nothing's being done. So I don't know how you control it. I don't know what rules you put into place, but what it does is Coach Lou was saying it earlier, we need more people in the stands, but you can't even get attached to players anymore because you don't know if they're going to be here 1 year, 2 year, 4 years. And I get Coach Dez's, he's not wanting to hit the portal and wanting to build guys up from the bottom, but you might need to reconsider that because other teams are getting that talent from guys who are in the portal and maybe not getting time, sitting on the bench and not getting playing time. So I don't know, man. I don't have an answer. None of us have an answer. This is just my rant on the fact that I really like the kid and I looked at him as a leader on defense. And on the last possible day to screw your team, you're out. it's a business at this point, and it's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse until it gets better. If it gets better, I don't know if it'll get better. It won't get better until teams like the one across the basin are affected negatively. As soon as teams like that, it hurts them, then all of a sudden you're going to see regulation. You're going to see people throwing their hands in the air. So that's all I got.
Look, I wish Trey the best of luck. It's the name of the game these days. Doesn't mean I like the game. Doesn't mean I enjoy the game. Doesn't mean I enjoy watching, some of our best players leave to go to bigger schools because they really, I hate to say it, but they're chasing money and have chasing better opportunities, which I understand. What I don't like is overall what this, we always talked about Pandora box has been opened. The frustrating thing about Pandora's box is it has turned into a minor league system. We are the AAA affiliate of the P5. I mean, that's what we are. And when you look at some of these schools that, the school across the basin, for example, started basically a subchapter of TAF that is dedicated to donating money to create a money pool for players to have NIL deals so they stay around, so they don't leave. You've got players that haven't even started for a team now asking for so much money through NIL to where that, if they don't get the money they ask for, they go into the portal and leave. So the loyalty factor, the commitment level is just, it's so up in the air and it's so volatile that even as a coach, if I'm recruiting a player, what type of approach do you take? Do you take the approach of if I pick this guy over, if this guy came to my school over a P5, can I trust that he's going to be around for 2 years? It's a very different approach that coaches take now, I'm sure, and hope that they stick around. You look at what happened at Colorado. Coach Sanders, 51 players jumped into the portal after the spring game, which I know he kind of wanted to do that, but still hearing that number, 51 players, and I understand the team went 1-11. I know he's trying to be in a win now mode, but the concept of hearing that 51 players in the portal, that's half your team. That's more than half your team. So that's kind of what college sports has turned into, or especially college football. And for fans like us of mid-majors, it's very difficult to really get involved and invested because, we don't have a $30-40 million TV budget to where we get a jump start. We don't have donors that give millions and hundreds of millions of dollars at any time to build new facilities and get what we want. Even those schools are having those problems. Look at Texas A&M. Texas A&M has players leaving, and they were pretty much the kings of NIL for a little while. So it's so all over the place, and it's so unpredictable, even for your bigger schools, that, like you said, Nick, yes, maybe a bigger school may be affected by it, but there's big schools already affected by losing players. The starting quarterback at Alabama this coming year was a starting quarterback in Notre Dame. He just got up and left. How do you stop? How do you stop it? What do you do? I really don't know.
But from a donor standpoint, okay, let's say I'm a multi-millionaire, I'm a billionaire, and I give money like for Tita, for Houston. He built a freaking arena for them. That's his arena. He gets to do whatever the hell he wants in his arena, and he's putting money into the program to get an addict. I get that. But it's still not technically his arena, but that's his damn arena, okay? So if I'm a billionaire, am I going to go... I'm not even a billionaire. Let's take it down a notch because those guys can throw money around and it doesn't matter. But if I'm a guy who has, a few $100,000 that I can, dilly dally with, instead of investing that and getting an actual return on my money, what are you truly getting in return for not throwing money away, but giving kids money every year, buying kids in the portal, getting them to come to your school. And let's say you don't win a natty in 5 years. How much more? How many hundreds of thousands of dollars are you just going to freely give away and not get anything in return? So I feel like there's somewhat of a bubble that's coming because right now it's new and it's fun and you're stealing all the players and you get to, brag about it. But 5 years of doing that, I don't care if I'm a billionaire. I'm not just giving money away to give money away. I want something in return at that point. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out too, because you have to think there's no real return of investment in just giving money away outside of winning a natty in a sport. Like you're not having your name on an arena. You're just giving money to a kid who may or may not work out and may ride the bench. What happens if he rides the bench? Are you going to put pressure on that coach to play him? And then he does, and then what?
Well, part of the issue too is you're not just paying players to come to you, you're paying players to stay. so they don't leave. You're giving money through NIL deals so they don't go transfer somewhere else. You're doing it to keep them comfortable at the school you're at. Again, the school down the road has a legitimate fund that donors can give to make sure that their players don't leave. Just so they because all it takes is one player to say, well, coach promised me I'll play for 7 or 8 games. I've only played for 3. I'm getting in the portal. I'm leaving. I mean, it's so fickle right now that it's just crazy, man. And unfortunately, if you want to win championships and you want to compete, you got to put money down for that, because those are the athletes, those are the players. And I understand the other side of the argument. These players are ambassadors to your school. They're the ones that are going on the field and playing and doing all that other stuff. But at the same time, there has to be a balance. And there's no balance to it right now. I don't know how the NCAA can regulate this anymore. I mean, heck, we know there's tampering going on when players get into the portal and a day later they're getting offers. You don't just make a 24-hour offer. Those type of things are not coincidental. I mean, let's be honest. Around the country, there's a lot of tampering going on, but there's nothing they can do to stop it. And that's, I've said this 20,000 times before this all happened. Nobody said guidelines. They just kind of said, okay, go ahead, do what you got to do. No rules. Well, here we are.
There's no enforcement arm. There's no guide rails.
No,
there's nothing.
the NCAA is useless.
I agree with Nick saying that it's going to change. It's a balloon. It's a bubble. I agree with that. But the risk for smaller schools, G5 schools, even smaller P5 schools, and bottom feeder Big 10 or Big 12, AAC, whatever, they're at risk too for becoming a farm system. I believe that's a real thing. I think it's going to continue to happen, because there's absolutely nothing you can do when, you recruit a guy from a small town that didn't get a lot of offers. You develop him. He makes a splash on a national TV in a game, or he kills it at a camp or whatever. Word gets out he had a good spring. LSU comes down the road, says, here's $80,000. You want to come play for us? Well, we can't do that. We can't do that for 100 kids for football and 15 kids for basketball and 35 guys for baseball. We just can't. They can. They have the collective. They have their money. And to Carson's point about, do you guys think that the businesses in Lafayette are buying into the Cajun program enough to put NIL money towards players in the program? Lafayette is bigger than some of the Power 5 cities. Look, man, the businesses in this town don't even buy in enough to support the team as it is. Our CAF should be triple the amount that it is, and a third of that should be businesses. We don't have a sales force going around knocking on doors. We never have. So how are we going to put together a collective for NIL money and NIL investment? We've done a few things. The Russos have done, Jackie Russo has done something. Now they have this open doors thing that I don't know exactly how it works, but apparently it links NIL potential investors with individual players, which is very hard for me to understand, because schools are not supposed to be involved in the financing aspect of it all. So how can you promote that? I don't understand that at all. But no, as it stands, the Lafayette economy, Lafayette businesses don't already support the Cajun program. None of them the way they should.
If they did, we'd have a football stadium already.
We'd have a locker room. We'd have
Right.
we'd have the batting cages done for Lansing Park. We wouldn't be behind the 8 ball the way we are. And look, things have changed a lot here. This isn't a service oil field industry anymore. It's a technology and it's a medical hub. Now, it needed to be that way. Things have changed and things evolve. But to answer your question, no, I don't think that the money is there. I don't think the support is there. And a lot of the reason for it is because we haven't facilitated it.
Well, it's just, I mean, for me, it's scary because you have to worry about NIL. Where are you going to get the money for that? You got to build a stadium. Where are we getting the money for that? Oh, and by the way, we have to come up with $9 million for our budget. I don't want to be the.
We're still trying to backfill that.
Yeah, I don't want to be the AD that has to navigate all this stuff, because you were asking how does it end? I don't know how it ends, but how do you stop it? My fear is that the way you stop it is the 5 conferences that are being most affected negatively by this say, we're going to take our cookies and go home. And by the way, there is no transfer portal between whatever league we're creating and the Power 5. So our players are our players.
Only thing is, because of the Supreme Court ruling, it would be against the law.
Yeah,
you have to allow players to monetize themselves.
So I don't know. Good point. So I don't know. I don't know where it's going to end up, but as a fan who's been, a fan of this sport and this university, and you always felt like you're behind the 8 ball and trying to catch up. And when you finally think a couple of years ago that you've caught up and you're there, and then you just get knocked down over and over and over again, and there's nothing you can do about it, you wonder how much longer you want to deal with the heartache or just move on and not care anymore. That's the sad part. When you have diehards who are like, is this even worth it?
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say it hasn't crossed my mind. What are we supporting? We don't even know these people. They're here for a year or two, get developed, and they go. These are pillars especially for a G5 like us. These are pillars to what we're going to try to do the next season, and what kind of offense we're going to try to run, what kind of defense we're going to try to run. You get a guy like I don't know, just say we lose a couple more DBs. You got to completely change your entire defensive strategy. What kind of pressure does that put on a coaching staff? What kind of coaches can you attract to your school if they know I only get these kids for a year or two and then they leave? You know what I mean? It just affects so many different things, and we're still learning about it all. We don't even know. We just know the surface level stuff that's occurring right now. But look, Trey, I like Trey. I like him personally. I liked him as a player. I hope him nothing but the best. This is not exclusive to Trey. It just really hurts because I really, really like Trey a whole lot, and I thought he was going to be a cornerstone of this defense this year. I heard Mike talk about how great his spring was. It's just a punch in the gut, man. And it's just college sports nowadays. It's just all it is.
It's a symptom of what we're dealing with, and nothing against Trey. I wish him the best of luck. I hope he lands at a good spot, and I hope he has a chance to shine. I wish him nothing but the best. He was a great player for us, a great ambassador for our program, and I hope he does well. But there's big problems out there for the way that this whole portal thing's being handled. I mean, I don't think anybody can deny that there needs to be some type of cosmic shift to create some structure and create a little bit more, not going to say rules. Well, I'd say rules, but just more, just a little bit more structure to where this thing isn't all chaotic. Because it's getting out of hand. And
I tell you one way easy right now that I just thought of that you not prevent it, but you slow it down a little bit maybe. How about if you have an NIL deal with the school and you leave to go to another school, you got to pay that back. Now, I know you're just going to get more NIL money from a donor to pay it back, but at least the school is getting money for the next guy, right?
Same thing with scholarships.
You leave,
if you're on
you
scholarship,
pay it back.
If you're on scholarship and you transfer, you have to pay the scholarship back. All of it. Not if you're here 2 years and you're on scholarship 2 years, the school gets refunded.
Yeah. And again, it's not going to stop it because kids are just going to get a donor to pay for it. That's fine. School's getting the money. They can turn that over and give that to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea.
And you know what? If that's the case, Nick, that you say a donor's going to pay for it, donors are going to be tired of paying for it. It's like almost like giving a loan out, right?
Well, it will. They will. I mean, because again, no ROI, right?
Yeah.
What's your return?
I mean, after a while, those donors are going to look at this, especially at the P5 level, going, "Well, sheesh, man, how much money are we going to have to donate to get these players to stop leaving?" And then
you have to realize you're donating to a school that has $100 million budget.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And only one team every year wins a natty in any sport. So again, all these people who are giving money, where's your return on investment? That's going to get old quick.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Last thing on Trey, one word answer. Okay. Last thing, and then we're going to move on. More disappointed if he ends up at which school? School across the basin in Gainesville. Go, Jerry.
I'd probably say Gainesville.
Nick?
I'd say Gainesville.
Disappointed across the basin, pissed off Gainesville. Because that one you saw coming.
I'm gonna say Gainesville.
I'm gonna say Gainesville
because I've had it with him. I've had it with I've had it with the cherry picking of our players. I've had it.
We're just gonna call him
disappointed if he ends up in Florida.
I mean, at this point, we're just gonna call them the Florida Raging Cajuns. I mean, that's what they've become. I mean, they're Raging Cajuns 2.0. I mean, you look at some of their better players, they in their coaching staff, they came from Lafayette. And I get it, but it's at the same time, it's like, man, like you've poached enough of our guys, go somewhere else.
But the problem is you had recruiters that did what they did here with players who are going to the NFL or currently in the NFL, and you're telling me you go to a school like Florida and you can't find players to play for you? That's really hard for me to believe. That's lazy is what it is. It's lazy and it's dirty.
Well, here's part of the problem though. This is a speculation and rumor that I heard, but look, they have to I heard Florida has to mend some relationships with local high schools because the previous coaching staff didn't have any relationships with the Florida high schools. So
poor guy.
I agree. I agree.
He couldn't get any coaches, so he had to take ours. Then he can't get players, so he has to take ours. Why is that a problem?
But to my point, and I'm glad you said that, but to my point is you signed up for that. You signed on the dotted line and said, I will take on the challenge. You know, I mean, if you know you have to mend relationships at local high schools in Florida or local high schools in the area to get athletes to go there, you go mend the relationships. Stop poaching our players. You know,
what happens if he finishes last in the division this year?
We have a party because he's fired.
He's fired.
He's done. Yeah.
So that did a lot of good. And you're gonna have a lot of coaches that are looking for jobs.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Guess whose door they're gonna be knocking on?
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm dancing on the grave. If it happens, I'm dancing. So y'all can get mad at me already because that's happening. I know y'all love Billy. Not y'all two, but there's a lot of people who are going to listen to this that love Billy. Billy has screwed this program over probably more than he helped it. I'm sorry. It's the truth.
Well, I'm in the middle, man. I love what Billy did for us, and I wish them well at Florida. But after a while, enough's enough. It's like, come on, man. Like, you're coaching the Florida Gators. You can go find any coach you want. You can go find any player you want. Like, and I understand this is sort of your comfort zone, but please stop making our school your comfort zone. Like, you're the Florida Gators head coach, man. Come on now. There's a lot of talent around America you can go find rather than coming to Lafayette.
You can like Dr. Jekyll, but hate Mr. Hyde. All right, there ain't nothing wrong with that.
A good way of
in my
putting it,
opinion.
yeah. It's very true.
Yeah, well, anyway, before we get into baseball, let's do sponsors, Nick. Firstly, want to shout out Lafayette Roofing and General Contractors, licensed and insured, locally owned and family operated. Our buddy Darren Domingue is a proud UL alum, RCAF supporter. Lafayette Roofing is certified with the BBB, Better Business Bureau, where Mr. Domingue serves as a board member. Reminder, if you haven't inspected your roof for damage with the wild weather we've been having over the last couple of years, and it's spring, so you definitely don't want to spring a leak, make sure to check for sagging, signs of water damage, dark spots, holes, cracked or torn shingles, large amounts of shingle granules in your gutters, persistence of rot, mold, or moisture. Darren and the crew has 3 different options for financing available for you. Also, they offer exceptional interior and exterior painting and sheetrock services. Over 10,000 satisfied customers cannot be wrong. Give Darren and the crew a call today, 337-237-ROOF. That's 237-7663, or visit them on the web, Lafayette-roofing.com. Also, thank you very much to Patriot Steel Group. Chris Russo and the boys over at Patriot Steel Group have over 100 years combined in the oil and gas industry. The guys over at Patriot Steel Group would like to thank all RCAF donors and encourage anyone who is considering to give any amount that they can to support our student athletes and their mission to promote our great university to please do so. They were founded in 2021, and they have been a great Raging Cajuns sponsor, Raging Cajuns baseball sponsor ever since that. They do the rosters, the game cards, and they also have a very nice logo out in right field. So if you've gone to the Tigue for the last 2 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Please give Brandon Gollett or Reed Barbier a call at 337-443-9296, or visit the Patriot Steel Group LinkedIn page for more information on what they can do for you. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, the official injury attorney of the Raging Review podcast. Offices in Lafayette, Alexandria, Lake Charles, Monroe, Shreveport, Zachary, Denham Springs, Gonzales, Hammond, and of course their headquartered office in Baton Rouge. Remember, when you go with G, you get the G guarantee. If they don't win your case, you owe them absolutely nothing. Thousands in NIL deals assist athletes with everything from promoting their personal brands to networking within the business world. They've done that for Raging Cajun athletes and lots of athletes across Louisiana. Give them a call if you need today, 888-532-1573. GetGordon.com on the web, getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done. Thank you very much to our great sponsors and great Raging Cajun athletic supporters. So, baseball has been interesting over the last couple weeks. had a couple of midweek games that we started using the committee, as phrased by our good friend, Mr. Cajun Vic. And by the way, shout out to Jerry for going hat backwards tonight. I'm sure he's like triggered so hard right now. Oh my God, they're both wearing their hat backwards.
How dare
man.
you?
What's funny is I've always worn my hat backwards. I just never done it on the pod. So I figured why not make a fashion statement tonight.
Jerry caught Vic staring at him, so now he wants to poke the bear.
Not really. I just felt like wearing my hat tonight. But if you want to go with that, that's fine. Let's do it. Why not?
Got a bad haircut? You got to hide it? I do that sometimes.
I got a good haircut, actually. Just in the mood of
You
wearing
sure
my
about
hat.
that, Jerry?
Hey, y'all saw it last week. It looked pretty good.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
You hater.
So Southern comes in on last Tuesday. Southern is what it is. RPI 260, somewhere in there. Not much to write home about. We did score 10 runs. I think we were up 9-1 or 9-2 after maybe 4 or 5 innings. Rawls starts, which was absurd to me, but I understand what they're trying to do. We saw Carson Fluno come in, I think, in relief. Oh, no, I think it was Theut. I think Theut came in and then Fluno. Correct? Yeah. So Theut looked good, threw, I think, maybe 19, 20 pitches, looked fantastic. Fluno comes in, hits a couple guys, walks a couple guys. I think we ended up giving up 5. Yeah, we won 10-5. Deggs was pissed after the game, said that we didn't look ready to compete. The intent wasn't there. We got to stop giving away free base runners. I think we still gave away 6 or 7 free base runners in the game against Southern. Team, you got to dominate. I think we mostly did dominate, but he wasn't satisfied, which for everything that I don't like about Deggs, I will always defend him on this. This guy is not going to get comfortable in just seeing a W on the scoreboard, and I really appreciate that. I also appreciate the fact that he's willing to say out loud that we have to be better. I have to do better. He always owns it for the most part. So I got to give him a shout out on that. So Southern is what it is. It's good to see the basket going, but I'm not going to take a whole lot away from Southern's pitching. I was mostly just kind of taking away Theut coming back and looking good, and then Fluno doing what he did was basically blow up. So we escape with a 10-5 win at home. Then we go to Northwestern. Northwestern comes here, and we host them, and total domination. That was total domination. Bats did what they did. Northwestern has always been a pretty solid program that comes in here midweek. I think that they're not nearly as good this year as I expected them to be. I think they've won 13 or 14 games. Not really doing much in this. No, more than that? Who am I thinking of?
Well, Southern was 13-21. I think
Maybe it was
Northwestern was like 21-15 or something.
21-17.
Yeah, they were
21-17. Okay, my fault on that. Still, it's not a good team. You do what you do at home against a not good team in the midweek. You spank them. So we did that. Pitching, again, they were talking about the committee. The committee got their jobs done. Who started? Do you remember? It's been a while.
Nezu.
So Nezu comes out. Degg says how good his changeup looks, and he's thrilled with the development of the changeup. JT goes wild. The offense as a whole just bludgeon Northwestern. It just is what it is. Who else? I don't have it in front of me. We had Moody pitch. I think so. Nezu started. I know
Cash.
Moody came in.
No, Cash came in for 2 innings.
So Stephen Cash came in.
Moody and then Tate.
Moody and then Tate. And Tate, that was one of his better outings. He didn't throw a ton of pitches, but his breaker looked alive, for lack of better terms. Good to see that. But again, I said it on the pod and I said it to you guys in private. Those games are meaningless to me at this point. We got to win the Sun Belt. We got to get into the Sun Belt Conference tournament. We need to win our Sun Belt Conference series. That's what's important. We come into Friday, and I think we all were. Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't think we talked about this. I thought that we would out-hit them. I thought we'd win the series. I think we'd take 2 of 3. I didn't expect the pitching to do very much, but I thought our hitting would just kind of take over. I don't like Potok all that much, and we destroyed him. I think they left him in a little too long. We got 5 runs in 1 inning and 2 nickel and dime here and there. We slapped him around. At home, we typically do that to Coastal. No matter how good they are, no matter where we are, we typically play them pretty well. Friday night, guys got 2 out hits. Rock looked great. Brock had a couple of clutch hits. JT was good. Higgs continues to just destroy the baseball. Not really much you can say about the offense. The committee was what it was. It's kind of been the same thing as all. Rawls comes in, gives up 4. Who relieved Rawls?
Theut.
Yeah, Toy came in
Oh,
for
that's
5.
right.
Yeah.
Theut comes in and holds the fort down for 5. We relieve him with Marshall.
Fluno.
Oh, Fluno did come
came
in?
in and faced, 2 batters? Gave
Okay,
up
that's
2
why I
hits?
don't remember.
And
then Marshall comes in, looks great for a while, and then gives up a 3-run dong in the 9th. We ended up escaping with an 11-9 victory. If you guys want to spend some time on game 1, I mean, it's the best one we played, so that's a victory. Thoughts on game 1? Jerry, you go.
I got to tell you, the atmosphere in the third inning when we scored the 5 runs on those 2 outs, the Tigue was loud.
Electric.
I haven't heard. I was at the Diamond Club lunch today, and I told that to Coach Deggs when I was asking questions. I said, Coach, that's probably I felt like I was at the old Tigue in that third inning, especially when JT's rounding third. And all of a sudden you see Deggs. Deggs is literally running with him, waving him home, and the crowd's just going nuts. And I mean, I'm losing my voice. Everybody around me, it felt like a regional game. And, we haven't really seen that type of energy from the crowd in a long time. But at the same time, the team gave us something to be excited about. When you have the number 6 team come into town, and not only do you respond by, you punched them in the throat early, jumped to a 9-4 lead. I think we jumped to an 11-4 lead or something like that. And we held the lead. And, shout out to Dylan Theut coming in. I think it was 6 scoreless innings. And then, unfortunately, that tragic injury he got. And we'll get to
talk
that
about that after. Yeah.
But overall, the Friday night game just kind of summarized what we were capable of doing this whole entire season. I mean, you hit the ball well, you got timely hits. I think we scored 9 runs off of 2 outs, two out situations. And you held your own outside of that 3-run bomb you gave up in the 9th. So just a great win, a great atmosphere. I haven't experienced the Tigue with that much energy at the Tigue in a long time. That was nice to see. And it was a lot of fun. And I mean, that game just summarized the type of team we have. I mean, it just goes to show you that we could compete with anybody and beat anybody if our game is on. So that was a fun game, Josh. And I mean, you and Catherine, the kids were there, and we were having a good time. It felt like old times.
Yeah, and I'll talk about this later, how this whole weekend series was the epitome of our season, because it had everything that we have seen the entire season happened in 3 games this weekend. But look, you can't complain offensively. I guess if I could pick a spot that I would like to have seen Robichaux be a little smarter at the plate, I think he went 0 for 3 or 0 for 4. So that was a little disappointing for me. But JT, I mean, you look at Debo, all the guys really just knocked the ball all over the place. Again, like you said, Josh, it was disappointing in the 9th when you start, oh no, is this another Tulane, right? Where we let them come back. But thankfully, after giving up that home run, Blake kind of clamped down and we were good at that point. So all in all, again, we've seen that a few times this season where we blow out a team, then let them come back and almost win. So that's just part of why I say it's the epitome of our season, because that's just one of the things that we've seen, and it happened yet again.
The biggest topic of conversation outside of the win was what happened to Dylan Theut, as Jerry started to talk about. There's a rumor out there that he was on a pitch count, and we saw him go well beyond that. We saw him throw 62 pitches. On pitch number 61, he grasped at his elbow. And, Brian started to come out of the dugout, and he waved him off. And I'm going to pause there before I complete my thought. Sometimes you got to protect kids from themselves. He's been out for a long time. He's a competitor. I understand all that. And yeah, we want tough guys. And yeah, we want guys that want to stay out there and compete. I get that. But sometimes you got to protect people from themselves. And I really would have liked to see somebody go out there and talk to him. Because on pitch number 62, he looked like he snapped his arm in half. Now, he was in a sling on Sunday. Craig said he was raking the mound with the other guys also, so I don't know what to take away from that. It looked like Jerry, I think Jerry kind of confirmed this, but it looked like or through the grapevine, it's a UCL issue. That could be really bad, could be, just a couple weeks, but based on the reaction and based on some things that we've heard, I don't expect to see him back. We'll see. I just don't understand how you got a guy coming off of a major back injury who's been out almost 7 weeks, come in, get ramped up 2 times in 4 days, throw on 2 full days rest and throw 19 pitches and then 62 pitches. For me, especially if you're going to go by committee, which was the plan, what happened to the damn committee when you let this guy go five innings? And look, I understand you want to win. I want to win too. But something is amiss with that. With this one particular issue, I did not like the way that was handled. I said as much on the board, and I told you guys that. Where do y'all stand on the Theut thing?
Nick, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll just say, look, hindsight's 20/20. If he goes out and makes that next pitch and nothing happens and he comes out the game, we're not having a conversation. He might be a little bit sore. But look, again, we have been spoiled with a pitching coach as a head coach for so many years. And I don't know. Look, I'm with you. Again, looking back at it, yeah, they should have. When he's in distress, what do you got to lose?
I mean,
right?
he's coming off of an injury,
right?
And everybody knows that when you have an injury, you overcompensate in other areas.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I have a stress fracture in my foot, and now my sciatic nerve is bothering me, right? So you compensate without even knowing it. So it's unfortunate to see. I don't want to point fingers. It's just if you're looking at big picture of how this season has gone pitching wise for us, and not laying the blame on anyone, but this is almost just like another thing that has us concerned, right? So we were concerned about the walks, and then we were concerned by the hit by pitches, and now we're concerned by over pitching a kid that's coming off of an injury. So it adds up and just plants that seed of doubt into your head of do we know what we're doing? So again, I don't think a single person on that coaching staff wanted to see that kid get hurt.
No, and I'm not insinuating that.
No, and I'm not saying you are, but others seem to think that or insinuated that. But I think it's a tough situation, and again, hindsight's 20/20. Looking back at it, I will tell you, I know Tib or Deggs probably would both go to you and say we should have pulled him, or he should not have pitched that many pitches, or whatever they have to say. But it was a decision they made. They're going to have to own it. Unfortunately, Theut is going to have to suffer as a result. And you just got to hope and pray for the kid that he'll be okay and be able to continue his career as a pitcher.
And Jerry, let me set you up real quick. We literally just had a conversation last week about overusing pitchers. So it just compounds it for me because to use an old Jay Walker saying, we didn't second guess it. We first guessed it. We literally said, don't overuse them. This is a recipe for overusing. This is a recipe for pitching tired. We're not the only ones saying that out there either. So it compounded it for me, and I just wanted to say that before you went.
But it's like, before you go, Jerry, it's like when I got in an accident in Houston, and I was stopped at a stop sign, and I saw somebody coming, and I said, they're going to hit me. And then I saw they didn't stop, and I said, they're going to hit me. And when they hit me, I was like, damn it. I was so pissed because I saw it. I knew it was going to happen, and it happened. So that's kind of how I felt. Like, we felt like, ooh, and I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about how the season has gone.
Yeah, I think hindsight's 20/20, like you said. You keep it going because right now, pitching hasn't been consistent, and then you have here's a guy that's just, he's just throwing rockets down the plate. He's forcing pop-ups, getting outs, just shutting down debatably the best hitting team in America, or at least a team that's in the top 3, top 4 in America and batting. So you look at it and go, well, we're on a roll right now. He's gunning him down. We're trying to avoid a rally. Let's keep him in as long as possible. And, maybe towards the 6th or 7th, we'll ask him, how you doing? How you feeling? And, Dylan or any other pitcher is going to say, I'm fine. I know they always say, well, pitchers and players know their body, but there's some that are competitors, they can go in limping on the field and they'll still try to say I'm good. So there's a, like you said, hindsight's 20/20 there, but I think what's a little aggravating now is I look at it and I've always said for the last month, the hard part of the schedule's coming up. The hard part of the schedule's coming up. And now I look at it going, man, if Dylan doesn't go down, he's very valuable in these next 3 weekend series where we're trying to not only make the tournament, but get a decent seed. He would have been very valuable there. And now we can't use him. Now he's hurt. So that's kind of tough to look at because sometimes I know, anytime you set up a pitching staff, there's some games you may give up and say, I need to win the series like we did on Saturday to look ahead to win the series or look ahead to other games. One side of me says that you keep him going because he's on a roll. The other side of me says you pull him out on the pitch count because we're going to need him in the next 3 weeks. They rolled the dice. They tried going with him. Poor guy hurt himself, and now he's probably out for the year. So it's hard because I know we have some. I mean, look, as much as our pitching struggled, there we have guys that are hurt. Blake McGee's hurt right now. Jake Hammond's still kind of hurt. Dylan Theut's out. I mean, we're losing depth. This late in the year, that seasonal stress is starting to eat into our pitching, and we don't need that right now. So I think this week was a good week for the team to really not have a midweek game and just take the time off, focus on their exams, and just kind of regroup, get some time to rest, and hopefully going into Monroe this weekend. I know Monroe's struggling like crazy. This is a perfect tune-up weekend for us to actually show up, play the brand of baseball we know we can play, and just build some confidence, man. Go into Monroe and sweep them, build some confidence, because we all know the CDS.
Don't say that.
The CDS is creeping in. The CDS is creeping in. They're going to find a way to beat us. Well, we shouldn't let that happen.
Well, it's not CDS, it's reality, Jerry. We're not a good – right now, we are an okay baseball team because we've got the hitting, but like you said, we cannot afford to lose guys, and we're losing guys pitching-wise.
Well, we had a substantial lead at the point that he snapped his elbow. We had a substantial – you're telling me you can't go find one guy to keep a 4-run lead intact? Come on.
Well,
that's not Dylan Theut's fault.
Why do you think they kept him in so long? They kept him in so long because they knew that.
Well, I shouldn't say on the air why, because I don't want to get in trouble. I think I know why, but I'm not going to say it.
But that's why I think this week is crucial to just not have any midweek games, because you go to Monroe, then you go to Ruston, you get a 4-game stretch where, the team really, I say that, I call it a tune-up. I call it a weekend where we need to really regroup and go up against a Monroe team that always plays up against us. This is going to be a test, and you have to go to Monroe and play the brand of baseball you can play, because the last 2 weeks aren't going to get much easier. You've got Texas State coming. You got to go to Hattiesburg against Southern Miss. Then you've got the tournament. So if there's any weekend of good baseball that you need to play, it's this weekend. And we could talk about, well, the at-large bid's out the window. We could talk about we got to do this, and this. What you got to do is you got to play good baseball, and you got to find a weekend of consistency. And so you get 5 days off. The players get to focus on their finals. They'll be done by Friday or Saturday or whenever, or Thursday, I think. And they'll be able to just focus on baseball this weekend. And from a mental standpoint, I'm hoping that helps.
We'll look ahead in just a minute. But so game 1 goes that way. Theut gets hurt. We ended up finishing it off. We get the W. Great. You get a win against top 6 team, top RPI, top 10 team. So that's great. Then you come back on Saturday, and the committee strikes again. Committee wasn't good.
Josh loves the committee.
Well, because it's so absurd. It's such an absurd. First of all, the people who call it the committee are annoying. But
trust the committee, Josh.
The entire strategy behind the committee just annoys the hell out of me. It's so ridiculous. And I understand that you say, look, it's not working. What we've been doing this year hasn't been working, so you got to do something differently. Yes, I do agree with that. But how about we define roles? How about we just keep the roles defined and we give proper rest? That's what I would do. Even if I get similar results. I mean, I didn't get much better results. You understand, you take away David Christie and you take away Dylan Theut, and you got the same exact results that you had up until now. Nothing really changed. Now, Moody also pitched pretty well. But what changed? Nothing. 2.5 guys. So anyway, Saturday we come into it. Who started on Saturday? Nezu. So Nezu doesn't have quite the start you look for, and Deggs is still talking about how great his changeup is. And I just, for the life of me, can't understand why you would say that in a postgame when a dude gives up, 5 runs in 2 innings? I don't understand. What you got here?
Well, okay, so yes, he gave up 5 runs, but then we made that crucial error at second base. That pretty much, that could have been a double play. That could have changed the trajectory. I think once that happened and you loaded the bases, or I think we had 2 men on. I forgot. But at that
The
point,
double play you're talking about where we booted it?
we booted it, and they scored 4 runs that inning. I mean, you get a double play and maybe one more out. Maybe it's 1 or 2 runs instead of 4. I mean, I think that totally changed the trajectory. Now, granted, you can't do that with our pitching staff. I mean, you know it, I know it. It's just you can't.
Out
And
after an
it's
error.
Jerry.
Out
Even
after
after
an error.
that, we go to the 6th and we're only down by 1. Right?
Well, but here's
Right
the thing,
after
though.
Julian hits the home run, it's 5-4.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. If you don't make that error in that inning and they score 1 or 2 runs, you might have the lead going into the 6th or going into the 7th. So
What I think what Nick's trying to say is that we were right in the thick of it into the 4th and 5th inning, and then you go to who came in. Was that when Fluno came in? No,
yeah,
he came in Friday. He
No,
came in Friday.
I think it was Ray came in.
Tommy
Right
comes
up.
in. We kind of
Yeah.
start to lose it. Wheels start to wobble a little bit, and then after that, it was just a floodgate.
Well, you gave away three free bases. I mean, they didn't even. I don't
Well-
think they even got a hit before the grand slam. You hit 2 guys. I think you hit 2 guys, and then you walked a guy,
right.
and then they hit a grand slam. It's just, I mean,
But this is the story of the year. This is not like, oh well, shucks, we could have got 1 out there. We could have thrown a strike here. This is what we do. We give up milk money. Everybody does it. It's insanity. It's the same pitcher every time you throw him out there, which tells me that it may not actually be a talent issue. Maybe it's a strategy issue. Maybe it's a in-game play pitch calling issue. I'm not taking a shot at Tibb. I'm just trying to think out loud. You give up 13 runs. Look, that's a good offense. I understand. But oh my gosh, you got to be better than that. And again, I'll say Jackson Nezu is not a Saturday starter. We've been over this over and over and over. And I don't think he was terrible. I'm not trying to say that. We've been pretty pro Jackson here. I just don't see I don't see the strategy with him and the way his stuff is, with his propensity to have the flat fastball against that offense. I'm not a coach. Just what I see, man. Just a fan.
Yeah, again, I'm going to say it, and you said it just now, that epitome of our season. Friday night, we do that. We've done that a few times. Get blown out in the game, free base runners come back to bite us. That happens in this game. And we all know what happens on Sunday.
well, what you did on Saturday was you put a lot of pressure on the bats because you drop, you make that error. It's 5-1. Now you're playing catch up for like the next 5 or 6 innings. You bring the game within 1 after Julian Brock hits that moonshot to left field on a 2-run bomb, and you have momentum back. In the very next inning, you give up a run. Then you go 3 up, 3 down. And the following inning after that, you give up 6. So at that point, you're putting all the pressure on the bats to expect them to do something for you because we're giving away freebies on the back end through our pitching. So it's just, and you're doing it against a team that's, a coastal team that's very, very good. That there's no room for error for. And that's exactly what we did. What we weren't supposed to do, we did. And that's why we, what was the final? 13-5. I mean,
well, that is exactly what I'm saying. How demoralizing is it to fight back as an offense against a great team? I don't know how great they are, but I think they're very, very good. I thought Campbell was better, honestly. But how demoralizing for an offense to fight all the way back, get it to within a run, and the very next inning, they go nuts and score. What is Jerry laughing at?
I'm sorry, man. The comment cracked me up. I caught that pretty quickly. That was pretty funny.
Ryan says, you a-holes act like you've never watched Zach Osborne pitch on a Tuesday night before starting at Friday. Same with Austin, Hunter, Gunner, and the other past Friday night starters. Yeah, I know, man. It's a novel idea not to start your Friday guy on a Tuesday.
Where's the sarcasm font there?
Yeah. But anyway, it's demoralizing for an offense to fight back, and then as soon as you get it within shouting distance, they give up a 7-run inning. That's brutal. That's just absolutely brutal. So Saturday we get our ass whooped. It's been an offensive series back and forth on a Friday and a Saturday. Then you come to Sunday.
Real quickly before we go to Sunday, I really enjoyed your in-game analysis on Rage and Pagin about the committee. That was just whenever we came up the 7-run inning. But the committee.
People are just not very smart. I just. Anyway, so Christie comes out and once again raises the level of execution against a very good offense, which is mind-boggling because against Northwestern, or whatever it was. We couldn't find the strike zone, and then, or I forgot when he pitched in the midweek, but wherever,
He hit 2 batters and gave up 3 runs in 1 inning.
Jerry, throw that ice out.
Thank you.
Please take the ice. Just drink the water, please, for the love of God.
It's
Christ,
actually sweet tea.
I got to edit all this stuff out. You're making work for me.
Sorry.
You know, Christie comes in. I don't know. Sometimes maybe he's disinterested. I don't know. But when we play better offenses, it seems like he's one of the best pitchers in the friggin' Sun Belt. So he comes out and does that. I mean, absolutely shuts down Coastal for 6 solid. Then we go to Marshall. I think we went straight Marshall, right? So we go to Moody. We go. I'm sorry, it wasn't Marshall. We went to Moody.
Did Marshall come in after Christie?
You might be right. It all runs together, dude. Festival plus baseball is a bad mix. But anyway, the point is that Christie came out and dominated the opponent like he did against the school across the basin, which gives me some confidence going into the tournament because we've got some good offenses in this league. If Christie can be that good, that bodes well for us. But anyway, he holds them down. He gives up 1 run through 6. The relievers continued to do their job into the 9th inning. Hitters wasted some opportunities. We had the bases loaded with no outs in the 6th or the 5th. We got 1 run out of that because we grounded into a double play. Really, there was a couple of other opportunities that we had. Man on second with 1 out, man on second with 2 outs. We just couldn't cash in that 2-out hit, which we had been doing pretty good for the entire week up until that point. Now, give Coastal pitching credit. They did a great job of holding us down. It's 2-1 going into the bottom or the top of the 9th. We have 2 outs. We have 1 strike. And was it Beach that hit it out?
Lucky,
of course. Lucky hits it out on I think it was a 0-1 or 1-1 count.
2-1 count
from Blake Marshall, who looked great, but still gave up 2 home runs in the 9th inning on Friday and Sunday. So again, it's the high highs and the low lows with this team, but how gut-wrenching. Now, I will say that was one of the better baseball games I've seen. I mean, I was watching it as I was walking around, but it was one of the better college baseball games, not just Cajuns games, but one of the better baseball games that I've seen in a very long time. And to keep that offense down to 2 runs through 9, 8 2/3, that's super impressive from the pitching staff. I wish the offense could have cashed in on a couple of those opportunities, but that's gut-wrenching, dude. You give up a home run to tie the game, and then they score a run without a hit in the 10th or the 11th. That's a brutal way to lose.
I think my top 3 most gut-wrenching, and I'm not putting Jackson State loss in there because that wasn't gut-wrenching. I was just pissed off. But it was, number 1 has to be when we lost to Ole Miss in the Super. Number 2 has to be when we lost to Arizona in the regional at home. Number 3 was that night, like that day. And again, we didn't have as much on the line, or maybe we did because we're still fighting for a freaking tournament spot. But it's almost like when you do something like that, when you're like, you need your 1 pitch and the game is yours, and you take 2 out of 3 from a 6th ranked team. It's a punch in the gut, and then to top it off, then you go to Rocco the next inning, who that ball. I mean, he had an extra biscuit that morning. That ball is over the wall, and the guy robs you of a home run. Ugh. And at that point, you're thinking, what do we got to do? And then doubt sets in. Not with me, but with you. You got to think doubt setting in. This guy hits it out. Now Rocco gets robbed. What do you got to do? It's
human nature to think, oh, you got to be kidding me.
So, yeah, that was one of the top 3 most gut-wrenching losses that I think ever witnessed. Fortunately, this one wasn't in person, so it was a little easier to kind of tune it out for the rest of the day. But
and Nick, it's a series win against the number 1 team in the Sun Belt, number 6 team in the country. That one play, if that ball is 6 inches higher, that one play changes the entire course of the season. And I'm talking about from a confidence standpoint. I'm talking about from a standing standpoint, everything. You get swept by JMU and you don't even know what to make of that. But you come home and you beat Coastal. I mean, that's a big time shift in the way that you see yourself as a team and the way the fans react.
It is, but because of James Madison, you still go into next weekend going, oh God, are we going to do it again? Like,
Oh,
are
yeah,
we,
we're going to
you
get
know?
into that. We're going to get into that in a
So
second.
that again, I don't know, man. I just can't figure out this team. I mean, it seems like I know you make your own luck, but it felt like even this weekend and James Madison, you know, how many times did you say against JMU, man, he hit it right to the guy. Oh, that was a great play. Oh, it bounced their way. I mean, the same thing during this weekend series. You hit a which should be a double play and that gets blown up, and then you hit a ball that bounces off a second base. Like, how many times have we seen that? Never. So it seems like everything we tried to do just went the other way. And despite that, we won on Friday night. But my fear is for the rest of the season, that's starting to set in. It's setting in with me, and I'm a fan, and it's okay for it to set in with me. I can have CDS, but when you feel like it starts creeping into the players' heads, that to me is what I'm scared about going into the next couple of weekends, is that are they letting that get into their mind? It's human nature. You have to fight it. Do we have that fight to fight through that? I don't know.
Well, I think what hurts on Sunday was, as much as we talk about pitching, I mean, they were lights out. They were lights out against one of the best hitting teams in the country. You held them to one run with, at 26 outs. One run, that's it. And yet the bats couldn't hit Sunday pitching to get more than 2 runs. That was frustrating. And I think that what hurts so much is there are going to be days when the bats are off, but to have some opportunities in the 6th inning, to have some opportunities, I think it was either in the 9th or the 10th where you had a guy on second, you couldn't score. I mean, we were 0 for 11, I think, with runners in scoring position on Sunday. We couldn't get that extra run. And that one hurt because the pitching, I mean, it was lights out. David Christie pitched a gem of a game, and they did more than enough to carry our team into a win. And yet the bats just couldn't get the timely hit. Tony used to talk about it all the time. Good pitching, good defense, both of which were there. Get the timely hit. Well, in that case, you're 2 out of 3. So, it's a bummer because it's late in the year and it's crunch time. I guess the small silver lining made me realize that, we can play with anybody in the country. I mean, it showed this weekend that, we should have taken 2 out of 3 against the number 6 team in the country. 2 weeks ago, you beat the number 1 team in the country. We could play with anybody when our game is on. The problem is we're so inconsistent that our game hasn't been on when we needed it to be the most. But the Sunday game it was heartbreaking for me. I think the question I had after the game wasn't necessarily just the fact that we had just so much bad luck between the Rocco home run rob and then the two out home run, from Coastal in the 9th. The question for me is when can we just put it all together? When can we just have all 3 phases just go together? If we could do that, this team can be dangerous, but we just haven't had that consistency of putting all 3 phases together. Again, this weekend on Friday, you hit the ball well, you played good defense, your pitching was okay, but you got it done. Saturday, you couldn't pitch, you made some errors in the field, but you hit the ball well enough to stay in the game, and the bats just ran out of energy. And then Sunday again, you got you pitched well, you got good defense, but you couldn't hit. All 3 phases were inconsistent all 3 days, and that's where I think I just ask, man, if we could just put it together, what can this team be? And unfortunately, time's running short. Time's running out. So,
well, I was about to say that we're May 2nd. We're fighting.
Yeah, time's running out, man.
Middle, low of the pack of getting into the conference tournament, and we're still trying to put it together.
Yeah, we've been the same team for 3 years. We put it together for 4 days or 3 days in a Sun Belt Conference tournament last year. And then we played well in the regional too, so I don't want to take that away from them. But we've been inconsistent for 3 years. We've done this for 3 years. We've been the same team. Faces have changed. Results are the same. Now, you can look at the win-loss, and yeah, we're going to probably win more games. Strength of schedule is also way less, or way higher, I should say. So that matters. I'm not trying to shit on what they're doing. Not trying to do that. I'm just telling you the facts. It's not fair to talk about all these other things and not bring the facts to the table. We're in May, and we still are trying to figure it out. Same team, 3 years. But that kind of brings us to our next topic. All right, we got 10 games left. We're going to go to ULM. We're going to come back and host Texas State. In between that, we're going to play the Rustonians in Ruston. And then we're going to go to the Pete at Southern Miss and Hattiesburg and play a team that's really starting to figure out who they are. 10 games. We're fighting for our conference tournament lives, which is just ridiculous to even say with this lineup. Where are we going to be in 10 games? Jerry and I kind of talked about this on the phone. He's looking at maybe 7-3. I said, look, man, 5-5 is really the reality. And I'll break it down for you. You go to ULM for 3. I think they take one from us on the road. I think Restonia has a good chance to beat us in their place. They're playing better baseball down the stretch. They're also fighting for their lives. I'm not afraid of Texas State at the Tigue. I think we take 2 or 3 from them. I hope. But I got to tell you, USM, they own us at Pete Taylor Park. They just do. That's a fact. If we can take 1, I mean, at this point, you feel good about that. That's 5-5. I don't think that's an unreasonable assumption or prediction or however you want to look at it. If we're 5-5, we're on the borderline of making the conference tournament. So I'll just throw that out there. Y'all want to comment on it? That's where we're at.
Yeah, reality, right? I don't know, man. I mean, I don't disagree with anything that you said. I don't have any expectation of going better than 5-5, with the possibility of doing a little bit worse, because we could go to Southern Miss and get swept. So it's it's humbling to think that we're 3 series left into the season, and with the tremendous talent that we have at the plate, we're having this conversation today. I don't know, man. It's one of those things where you, at the beginning of the season, you had so much promise. I mean, there was a lot of promise at the beginning of the season, but we still had the question marks with the pitching, which we still do, which you thought you would have had figured out by now, right? You figured somewhere along the season somebody would step up. Nobody did, for one reason or another, whatever you want to think on that. But again, it's humbling to think that we're 9 games away from eking into the conference tournament or just not being in it at all. And that's a tough pill to swallow from where we were this point last season. And give me this point last season, we were competing. We were on the upswing, we felt, and got a little humbled at Texas State. But still, you figure 4 years into this regime, we're competing for a regional on a regular. Not to say we won't. We could win the damn tournament this year again. But there is not that comfort.
Think about how excited we were when we found out that Julian was coming back.
I know,
Think about
man.
how excited
Rocco.
we were when we found out that Rock wasn't going to transfer, because those were the rumors at the time. Think about how excited when I saw John Taylor in the fall, I said, oh gosh, this guy's a ball player. We're about to shore up this lineup. We thought Connor Higgs was going to have a big step, take a big step. Now, he didn't play half the year, which is still mind-boggling to me. But the lineup, amazingly, is still getting better. Think about how we felt then, how we feel about the lineup now, and think about where we are results. We were
first place a couple weeks ago in the conference, and now we're questioning whether we're going to make the tournament. Where is the disconnect there? Where is it? That's what I can't figure out. I don't understand the disconnect. I think it's from we still don't know who our starting pitchers are on a weekend. I think you still don't. I think that plays a big part into it. But look, if the team would come out like they did on Friday night, every night of the year, it's a different season for the rest of the season if we come out like we did Friday night. But we saw Friday night they came out that way, and not necessarily Saturday. So I don't know, man. It's this one's tough for me. I don't know how to put it into words. Like it's mind-boggling is the best way I can put it.
I think it all depends on the next 4 games. I mean, you go to Monroe, they're struggling right now. But we know that they always find a way to take one from us. So it's going to be interesting to see how well we play in this 3-game series. I mean, we could go there, maybe lose a series, or we can go in there and sweep them. I mean, you just never know. And then following that, you go to Ruston for one Tuesday night game, and that's a coin flip as well. We've actually played well up in Ruston, and then some games we've lost in extra innings in Ruston. I mean, they've had to walk us off a few times up there. So you really don't have it's not like they've dominated us in the midweek. I mean, we've actually gotten the better of them over the last couple of years. But that's going to tell us a lot. I mean, these next 4 games are all winnable games, but if you want to set the tone and you want to create momentum going into that final stretch, you got to win out of these next 4 games, a minimum of 3 of them, minimum. If we don't, then that 5-5 record, Josh, I mean, it may be 5-5, it may be worse. So I'm not ready to really judge the last 10 games yet, because I want to see what we're going to do this weekend and on Tuesday in Ruston. If we can go by some miracle 4 for 4, I'm going to feel really confident in my 7-3 prediction. But if we go 2-2 or 3 or 2-2 or less, that's going to spell some trouble. We have a pitching staff that is inconsistent, and some of them are injured. We have some injuries. That's going to be interesting to see how our pitching does this weekend, because again, with Jake Hammond and Blake McGehee, 2 of which are our weekend starters, they're out for right now. We're going to see who's going to be able to step up. I'm pretty sure we're going to be going back to this pitching by committee model, see how that works. So I don't know.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, that's what we're doing. So you just do what you can with what you got. I really don't know what to expect this weekend. I expect us to go 3 for 3. I do. I mean, we're good enough to do it. Monroe is struggling. I mean, if we want to make a run, if we want to be capable of being a postseason team, that's what you have to do. So the next 4 games will tell us what type of finish we have to the regular season. If we go,
honestly, what is it going to tell us though? This is an honest question. Is it going to tell us that we're good enough to beat a very, very average Tech team and a very, very average ULM team? ULM's got some nice wins on the resume this year. They're not the ULM of old. It's not really going to tell me anything. It's going to say we're capable of playing up to our potential for 4 games. Okay, sweet. But what am I going to learn? Am I going to learn that we have a starting rotation? I don't think we're going to learn that. Are we going to learn that our offense is any better? I don't think it can be any better. I think we played about as good as we can play this weekend, and I think we're still getting better, to be honest with you, when it comes to consistency within the lineup. So maybe that. But I don't know how much I'm going to learn from going 4-0, which, by the way, I don't think we will. But I think we know who we are, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make.
Well, we know who we are, but at the same time, you're still going 4 games on the road, and 3 of which are conference games, and you got one that is kind of a rival. So you still, I think going into this 4-game road stretch, if you were able to go 4 for 4, that's not only a good thing, but that just goes to show you that this team is still, there's still a lot of hope. And if you could go 4 for 4 and then you have a 3-game series against Texas State, and you're able to continue that momentum from those 4 games, then you might be able to finish stronger. I mean, I don't know. I understand your point of view of being inconsistent. There's no doubt we're inconsistent.
Well, we've lost 4 of our last 5 conference series. I mean, you can't get much more inconsistent than that.
But now's just not the time for us to struggle in these next 4 games. I mean, you can't. I mean, we have no option. We have no choice. We cannot struggle these next 4 games. Can't.
Yeah,
well, losing 4 out of 5 is consistent, Josh. It's consistently bad.
Consistently bad. No, that's very true.
I mean,
I think, but Jerry, to your point, I do think it'll tell you what it'll tell me on the next 4 games is how do they respond after that heartbreaking loss. That's what it's going to tell me, right? And it'll tell me. Maybe it'll tell us if we have a rotation. I don't know. I mean, are we still doing the committee thing, or have we settled on anybody? That's still out there, right? So will that tell us anything different? I don't know. But I guess the only thing I'm looking for is how are they going to respond after that heartbreaking loss on Sunday?
Well, keep in mind, you got finals this week, so their minds are elsewhere. So maybe that's a nice reset.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a good distraction, whatever you want to call it. I still don't think you can sleepwalk through ULM. I'm sorry. I've seen them play good, decent baseball. They swept Tech this year. They've got some decent wins on the schedule. I think they beat Alabama. They can play. They're not horrible.
You can't sleepwalk against anybody. You can't. I mean, it's a conference series and it's on the road.
And they're licking their chops because they know we're down.
And they know we're inconsistent at times. And the thing is, again, if we want to finish strong going into the conference tournament, we can't afford to lose any games against them. I mean, all 3 games are must wins. I mean, you have to win all 3 games. You cannot slip up in any of those 3 games. You just can't. Not if you're trying to achieve what we're trying to achieve.
That is correct. All right.
The fact that we're having this conversation just pisses me off.
It makes me
It's
so
scary,
angry.
man.
Yeah.
It's scary. I mean,
Going into JMU, we're number 1 in the conference, and now we're talking about making.
but it's reality, like you said, it's reality. And unfortunately, we're facing the music, and now we're saying, okay, based off of the scenario and situation we're in right now, what do we do with it? We have no other choice.
Right. Well, going forward, I mean, we just got to win. I think 5-5 is probably what you're looking at. Hopefully, it's 7-3. That would be one hell of an accomplishment because that means winning the Texas State series, sweeping the ULM series, or at least getting 2 out of 3, I guess, and then winning the Texas State series as well at home, which I think we will do, by the way. And then we'll probably need some help ahead of us if we end up 5-5. We'll need some help ahead of us, I think.
I'm curious to see what the conference matchups are, because even though we have that mumbo jumbo going around right now in the conference where everybody has similar records, that's going to eventually kind of tear apart once teams start playing each other. I mean, look, we're neck and neck with Texas State. We're neck and neck with Southern Miss. We play both teams. So we really control our own destiny there.
Just don't lose the series. Anyway, boys, you have any parting shots before we let the folks go?
Yeah, just want to get your guys' take on rumors that Tulane is in the conversation for joining the Pac-12. Think that'll impact our conference whatsoever?
I think we talked about this last year. Jerry and I actually talked to somebody who would know, and they basically said there are way too many people ahead of them in line. I think, hopefully this is prophecy, but I think that Tulane ends up in the Big 12 in the reshuffle of everything.
I think Tulane would be interested. I think Tulane would probably talk to the Big 12. I think if the Pac-12 goes after anybody, I think it'll be either like San Diego State or somebody on the West Coast.
Agreed.
Maybe Nevada, Boise State, someone like that, just for travel reasons. Tulane in the Pac-12, just it's a weird fit. It's just the whole thing is awkward.
Academically, it's a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit.
But here's my question, and this is why I asked it. Does the AAC, if Tulane leave, go after a Louisiana team to fill that void? And
here's the question. Here's the question. If it's Louisiana, would you want to take it?
That was my next question. Because you got to think not only in the terms of if you're invited, will you take it? But we talked about the $9 million shortfall. They've got more media money on their end. So you got to think it from those terms.
But will it always be better?
Larger
markets, though. There are larger markets. There's no question about that.
Well, you're going in without Cincinnati. No more Houston. No more UCF. You're going in now with FAU. You're going in with North Texas, Charlotte. Would you rather play them over App State?
I'm not talking about who would you rather play. I'm thinking for the health of your program to get more money. Do you just bite the bullet if invited and go to the AAC, or do you stay put and hope for the best?
Here's the situation. Conference USA had the same approach back in 2011, 2012, and look at where they're at now because of the choices that they made there.
It's an interesting conversation. I'm sure we'll talk about it more as this heats up. Realignment is certainly not dead. It'll happen soon again. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. It's been another fun edition of the show. Please rate, review, subscribe to the show on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, all that stuff. Nick does all that, so I don't even know what all we're on. We appreciate you, as always, appreciate the support. Tell a friend, tell anybody who's interested in Cajun athletics that we do this. We're here to engage with the people. And look, we'll see you guys after ULM. Hopefully it's a sweep. But again, in baseball, you never predict that. Except you're Jerry. Jerry does. But other than that, we'll see you guys next week. Go Cajuns.